It's cool. We'll call her a booty call. That's cool. But you were also being really honest with her about being that booty call, which is cool. So let's talk a little bit, because I remember last night you sent me that I am session. It was the most boring I am session ever. I think that woman, you did everything we talked about. Partly when you're online late at night, which is something that I teach a lot of guys. If you're online late at night on a Match.com or a Yahoo or a JDate or whatever it is, women are online also. So we went through, let's give people a little bit of background information. Okay, you were online last night about 10:30 at night, and this woman emailed you back immediately on Match. So doing what I taught you to do, you immediately emailed her back and said, hey, what's your IM? Why don't we have a conversation, right? Mm-hmm. And she immediately sent your IM. I think it was an MSN account, and being the computer geek that you are, and the techie guy that you are, you downloaded MSN. I think you have every single messenger system on your computer. It's hysterical. You downloaded the whole thing, and then you got in this conversation with her, and you didn't have fun. I mean, this is what I tell every guy. It's 10:30 at night. I mean, they're sitting around, they're bored, they don't want to watch television, they're checking out guys online, they're reading profiles, they're getting a little emotionally turned on. Some of them are getting physically turned on. They may not have sex in a long period of time also, and they're not there to chat about the weather. Not that you need to be overtly sexual with them, but that conversation you had, Steve, with her was monotonous. I mean, it was going around in circles. It was all about what you like to do on vacation for the 14th time, and what she does for a living, and she was getting bored. I remember the pauses were longer and longer, as you told me, because you were IMing me on on one of your other instant message programs. So how do you transform that into being a sexually charged conversation? It's real simple, okay? In order to get a sexually charged conversation online at night, you've got to be daring. If you get her via IM at 10:30 at night, you can look at her and say, well, what are you doing tonight? What did you do tonight? Something, get the ball rolling a little bit. Most guys will say, what are you wearing? I don't like to say, what are you wearing? Because I prefer to do the give and take. So what I say to them is I get plain old bold. I will go with my IM and I'll look at them and say, you know what? We could talk about work, we could talk about the weather, but this is not exciting. It's late night, I'm feeling a little risque right now. Are you a daring person? Question mark, right? Send that IM out there, okay? She'll come back, and of course she'll say she's daring, because no one wants to think that they're not daring. She'll go, yes, I'm daring. And you'll say, are you a spontaneous person? And she'll go, yes, I'm spontaneous. And then what you do is you throw those words back at her and go, since you're spontaneous and daring, why don't we play a fun little IM game? And she'll go, and then you just go ... send it out there. She'll go, what's the game? What's the game? She'll come back all excited. And you'll say to her, have you ever played Truth or Dare via IM? It's my own version of IM. It's like 20 questions. You get 10 questions, I get 10 questions, but they need to be daring as can be. So you send that IM off, she goes, oh, I'll play, and then you'll say, go first. Ladies first. My mother always taught me to be a gentleman, which is telling her that you're a gentleman, which subliminally is getting her to feel comfortable because she doesn't think you're some sleazy guy kind of seducing her right there online. Now this is where the give and take, and this is where what I call the push-pull, kind of play around with her a little bit, have some fun, but be in total control. So she'll ask you a question. She'll ask you, what's your favorite place to kiss? She'll usually start 9 times out of 10 with something sexual. So you'll write the favorite place to, now what you'll do is you'll get into storytelling mode. My favorite place to kiss. Always start it back with what they just said. My favorite place to kiss is, and describe what your favorite place to kiss is. My favorite place to kiss is, I'm walking at the beach, it's sunset, I'm there with my dog, I'm watching the waves, we've had a little bit of wine, we're watching the sunset, we're kind of pushing around with each other, we're building a sandcastle, we're having a good time, we're kind of getting a little dirty in the sand. I like to reach over and give them a kiss because there's something very playful about that, something very erotic about that, yet something very innocent and childlike. So I will write that in my IM. Then they'll go, wow, that's great, that's a great place to kiss. And you'll immediately let her digest it a little bit. Then you go, okay, my question. What was the craziest thing you've ever done sexually in your life? Okay, and just send it off, right? And she'll go, and she'll go, and she'll always go, right? And then she'll come back and describe something sexual, right? And you, once again, being the guy in control, you go, very cool. No comment on it whatsoever, because this will confuse her. Because what happens is, okay, is that by remaining in control, okay, you're not commenting. Most guys would just start commenting on that question right then and there, and that comment that she threw back, and what happens next is that it becomes overtly sexual. So right now you want to, it's a give and take. So just go, very cool, that was hot. That's it, your question. So she'll come back with a question. She usually will ask you the same exact question. You'll go, you know what, no asking the same question, but this time I'll allow you that question. Now you describe something that was deeply erotic, but make sure it's all about pleasing another woman. Pleasing a woman. Like the most incredible sexual time I ever had was when I spent the entire night being a sex slave to my ex-girlfriend. Everything I did was based on all her whims, all her desires. I massaged her from head to toe. Describe the massage. Get really visual with it. Don't talk about penetration. Don't talk about your own dick. Don't talk about anything about what's being done to you. Make it all about her, because what happens is she'll read those words and she'll start putting herself into that. Then she'll come back with, wow, that's really hot. And you'll be like, yeah, it is pretty hot. I had a great time. Your question next. And what happens is you'll start building this tension back and forth. And usually by question number, I think 7 through 10, she's done. She's hot. What you do next is say, you know what, man, this conversation is really great. You want to do this over the phone? And she'll be like, oh, absolutely, call me, right? So you call her up, and then you re-describe something she posted to you. You'll say, oh my God, the way you described that massage, that was the hottest thing in the entire world. You got me really turned on when I was reading it. And she'll be like, really? And her breath will get a little breathy. And then you say to her, then you get ballsy, because most guys are not ballsy. You've got to be ballsy, and you've got to run with this. And the only way to get ballsy is to call her out on this, because 99.9% chance right here that she's soaking wet right now, and she's touched herself a little bit during this because you've turned her on. Because here's a couple of reasons why. She read your profile. She thinks she knows you deep down inside. So psychologically, she's emotionally attaching herself to you. That's the reason why she was willing to do an IM session with you. You got very sexual with her. It's late at night. She's okay with being sexual late at night. She's not thinking about work anymore. She's not thinking about dinner. She's not thinking about her dog. She's probably dressed in a little pair of panties and maybe a t-shirt. She's very, very relaxed. She might even be in bed, or she might be on her living room couch. So now you got to elevate it to the next level. And the next level is, let me ask you a question right now, because we're going to continue this little truth or dare on the phone. She goes, okay, are you wet right now? She will tell you she's wet right now. Then you get even bolder and go, have you touched yourself at all during this conversation, okay? Because what happens is you're giving her permission to touch herself and engage in some type of phone sex activity.